Welcome back to Gun&ShotTV. This is Chris, and today I was going to be talking about the Walther P22. This pistol is one that it's kind of interesting to me. It's the first one I ever bought new in a store. The P22, for those of you who don't know, is a scaled down 22 rimfire-ish replica thing of a P99. It's not really the same, but it is supposed to kind of ape on it and be a scaled down version of it. Walther is owned by Umarex, and Umarex also makes like blank guns and airsoft guns and stuff like that, paintball guns, I believe. So they don't necessarily have the highest build quality, but technically anything Walther makes is built by Umarex because they own Walther now. But I thought it was kind of interesting. It is a plastic frame. It's got some interchangeable back straps. This is the first generation. There is a newer one with a little bit different frame. And then it's got a ZMAC zinc aluminum alloy slide. I'm not really even sure how they sell these in Illinois because we have these junk gun laws that they have to melt at a certain point. I guess ZMAC is slightly higher. Never mind that a Glock has a plastic frame that could melt. I've never understood our laws really. 10-round magazine. It's got a manual safety up on the slide. It's got your mag safety. It's got this weird key safety that takes a special little plastic key if you want to lock it. Pretty much worthless, but I'm sure some people have used it and then lost the key and regretted it. It's got an ambidextrous Walther style mag release, paddle release up here. That's kind of nifty. So to take it apart, you just pop down on this release up here, drops down, and then pull the slide back, and then the gun kind of just falls apart here. Now, when I first got this gun, I went through and I polished these trigger reset bars. You can kind of see in here, these shiny tabs. And how the gun works is when you shoot the gun, the sear pops it apart, and then to push down and reset the trigger, there's these two ramps on the slide. If you don't polish these bars, they're kind of squared off when you get the gun, so it can actually chew up this ZMAC slide. So that's one of the first things I did with the gun. And then also there's some screws, and to get to the inside of the action here, you pop out some pins and the whole thing slides out. But there's this screw, and I think there's another one down in there, and then there's this barrel nut. And all those should really be Loctited because they like to work loose. And if your gun is falling apart internally because the screws are backing out, that's obviously going to be a problem. So that's the big issues I've had with P22s. They like to be run a little bit wet, and they do tend to have some misfire, misfeed, jamming issues. But for a $300 beater, it's kind of a fun little gun. The big thing I would say is with most of these that are aping on a full-size gun design, generally they are not as reliable as like a Ruger Standard or High Standard or Colt Woodsman or something designed specifically for 22 rimfire. Now to get this back together, I like to take the slide and put the guide rod through it. They provide you with a plastic like stick or a tool that's supposed to help with this process, but I find just shoving the guide rod through is fastest and easiest for me. So once it's through, you might need a towel to hold it because it's kind of slippery. But you're just going to kind of put the frame back together here, and then once it's seated like that, you can kind of just drop the guide rod and it'll seat itself. Okay, so now it's in place. They're just going to pull the slide back, get it on the frame there, and then push up that release, and now it's locked back in place. So without further ado, like I said, the gun, it's a little bit tricky to cycle. It doesn't always run great, but we'll throw some rounds down range and see how it shoots. So as you can see from our trip to the range there, not the most accurate gun, not the most reliable gun. If you don't have a 22 pistol, I don't recommend one of these as a first gun. You're better off getting, like I mentioned, a high standard or a Ruger standard or Mark I, Mark II, Mark III, or a Colt Woodsman, something like that that's going to be a little bit easier to run consistently. But as a second gun or a beater gun or just a range toy, even some people buy these because they're really easy to suppress. This barrel nut, you can get an adapter and throw a suppressor right on without a whole lot of headache. Of course, in Illinois, we don't have suppressors legally unless you jump through a bunch of hoops with a CNR and all kinds of stuff. So that's not something that I look for, but definitely those of you who can, it makes it a super easy suppressor host. But all in all, like I said, kind of a neat, interesting little gun. Fun, kind of shitty. So somewhere in between must buy and don't buy. If you see a good deal on one, like I said, I think I paid about $300 new for this. Sometimes you'll find somebody that's got one where, the barrel nut's loose or the screws in the action are loose, and so it doesn't run, it jams all the time, or sometimes it's just dirty. So if you clean it up, sometimes you can get deals on those guns that someone insists is a piece of junk and won't run. I think most guns will run if you put the effort in to get them cleaned up and figure out what's wrong with them. So if you see one like that, you can get a good deal on it, definitely, check it out. Worst case scenario, if I always look at buying a used gun is, if I buy a used gun and I get an okay deal on it, generally I can always sell it for what I have in it. If you pay high, you're gonna eat your shirt if you don't like it. But if you get a good deal, you can always push it down the road to somebody else if it's not something you like or it's just too finicky for you. But for Gun&ShotTV, this is Chris. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.